Level 146. Now, what we can see here is that we have what we might call concentric, not circles, I guess, but squares, where in this square, you see that these bunnies can only be hit by bombs marked Z, and the bombs marked Z can only hit these bunnies. So 4 bunnies and 4 bombs. It tells me Z has to be 1. And it's similar with Y, which has to be 2, and X, which has to be 3. Now, let's see. The Z's are going to hit only 1 each. Y are going to hit 2 each, which might be on the same, in the same direction, or it might be 2 different ones because the bunnies that Y have to hit are split. So let's see about X then. X has to be 3, and we see these 3 are together, which means they have to be hit by one of these. That means every group such as this, these bunnies have to be hit together. So that means this has to be empty. So does this and this. Now that means we can fill in this column with walls. And this row. So now we see, we can start looking at the Z's. This one has to hit this bunny, this one, this bunny, this one hits this, and this one hits this. And now also we see the Y's. So this one has to be hit by this bomb, which also has to hit one more, which has to be this, and then we need a wall here that grays out this row. And then this bomb needs one more target, which is this one. This bomb needs to hit these 2, and this bomb, these 2. Now, if we look in this row, so these bunnies have to be hit by one of these bombs, and there are 2 walls in this column. Only space for one wall here, so that tells me the walls have to be here, lest these bunnies not get hit. So the walls have to be here, and then we see what bunnies the X bombs have to hit. Now this row has 2 walls, which must be here. This row has 2 walls, which must be here. This column has 2 more walls. Now this is gray. This column has 2 more walls. Wait, it has 1 more wall, pardon. This row has 2 more walls. And now this column is gray. Let's see, this cannot be a wall, because then this would be isolated, so it has to be empty space, which means the final wall in this row is here. Now this is gray. This row needs 3 more walls. Now this is gray, and there's 1 space left, which we see has to be a wall. Level 147. If we look at this column and this row for that matter, X has to be at least 1. There has to be at least 1 wall between these bombs. And let's see, seeing from this bomb, we can see that X can be at most 2. Let's see if X can be 2. If X is 2, then this happens, and we see that now these bunnies can only be hit by this bomb, so they have to be, but then B is 2. So we get a contradiction. X is 2 and B is 2. That means our assumption was wrong. In other words, X cannot be 2. And as I've said, X has to be at least 1, and that means X is no more and no less than 1. Now let's see. X can hit at most this one or this one. That means there has to be a wall either here or here, and here or here. And since we've established X is 1, that means there are no more walls. These are not walls. And these are not walls. And looking at this bomb, we see it has to hit this one, because X is 1, as we've established. Let's see here. Only bomb that can hit this bunny now is this one, since this bomb would have to pass through this one, which already has a bomb. And this bunny can only be hit by this one now, and so does this one. But we see that B is at least 3. And we also see that A is 0. Now let's look at some equations. So the sum of this has to be equal to the sum of this. To make it short, this is 4x, 2y, 2a, 2b. The sum of that has to be equal to 4x and 6y, which is the rows. Now, if you do some arithmetic, you'll find that that gives you 2a plus 2b equals 4y. If you subtract 4x plus 2y on both sides, you get 2a plus 2b equals 4y, or a plus b equals 2y. And since a is 0, you get b equals 2y. In other words, b has to be twice that y. So we see y is 0. That means b has to be at least 4. And if b is 4, what happens then? Well, then this has to be a wall, and X needs a target, which has to be this one, and then there are no more bunnies left. In other words, B is 4, Y is 2, also A is 0, X is 1. And now we need some walls. Here, see, here must be a wall, and then one of these. And let's see here, X is 1, so the rest of this column is empty. That means this has to be a wall. Y is 2, so the rest of this row is empty. A is 0, so this column is empty, and so is this one. One wall in this row, that has to be somewhere here, so this is empty. This column has one wall, and X is 1, so the rest is empty. Y is 2, so this column needs 2 walls, and that means these 2 rows have no more walls. B is 4, so we can fill in this column with walls. And now we see here, there needs to be 1 wall in this row, which has to be here. There needs to be a wall between this bomb and this bunny. And since Y is 2, the rest of this column is empty. Now these 3 columns need 1 more wall each. And B is 4, that means this final space is empty.